All right, number 16. We're asked to simplify this expression. Now, this is a long expression and it looks really difficult. But what we need to do here is just follow the order of operations. Take it a step at a time. And it does simplify quite nicely if we do that. So let's start over here. Let's just work on this multiplication. So we're going to need to distribute this sign. But before we do that, notice that we have a cosecant here. We have a sine and a cosecant. Cosecant is the reciprocal of sine. So we could write this as sine x times 1 over sine x minus sine x. And then, of course, plus all of that. We'll get to that later. And so now when we distribute this, sine x times 1 over sine x is sine x over sine x, which is just 1. And then minus sine x times sine x is sine squared x. And again, we have all of this, but we're going to get to that in a minute. Sine x divided by sine x, as I mentioned, was 1. So we get 1 minus sine squared x. And 1 minus sine squared x is going to be cosine squared x. Because remember, one of our Pythagorean identities was sine squared plus cosine squared equals 1. And if we subtracted sine squared from both sides, we'd get cosine squared x equals 1 minus sine squared x. And that's what we've got here. So we've got cosine x is how this simplifies. Let's add in our other side now. And let's multiply these two together. So 1 minus cosine times 1 plus cosine is going to be 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times cosine x is cosine x. Negative cosine x times 1 is negative cosine x. So those are going to cancel each other out. Cosine x minus cosine x. So that just becomes 0. And then negative cosine x times cosine x is negative cosine squared x. And 1 minus cosine squared x is sine squared, right? For the same reason that 1 minus sine squared is cosine squared, 1 minus cosine squared is sine squared. And so if we bring that down to here, we get cosine squared plus sine squared, which of course is 1. So if you can do this one, you can certainly do the expression that I'll have on the midterm tomorrow. This is more complicated than at least it involves more steps than the one that'll be on the midterm tomorrow. But make sure that you know your Pythagorean identities, that 1 minus sine squared is going to be cosine squared. 1 minus cosine squared is going to be sine squared. Sine squared plus cosine squared equals 1. If you can remember those, you'll be in good shape. So let me see. So the answer for number 16 was C, 1.